What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Post-Gazette Pirates YouTube channel. I almost said Sports Now YouTube channel.
We phased out, man.
Yeah, we don't do that. We got our own thing, the PG Pirates channel, home of your Pirates coverage through the Post-Gazette Sports Beat. I am Noah Hiles. Next to me here is Andrew Destin. Andrew, they couldn't tell by our outfits, but it's still the first day of spring training. We just got back from the field, just wrapped up our coverage on site. But before we wrapped up our work for the day, we had to record this mailbag, which will run Thursday. This is going to be the new way we do mailbags. You're still going to see the written element to it at post-gazette.com, what you saw us do all of last season, where we answer your questions with written responses. But in addition to that, we will have this video element where we will put the question up on the screen, give an answer, and as a bonus for the people who tune in to our channel for the virtual mailbag, we will answer a couple more questions each week. Mm-hmm. And I think we should just get right after it, Andrew. We had a very eventful first day in Bradenton. A lot of news, a lot to discuss. Before we do, we have to give a shout out to our sponsor, Greenewalt Roofing. Thank you to them for supporting us, supporting this new channel. Now that box is checked, let's get into the discussion. We've got a lot to talk about. And it starts with Jim's question, which pertains to the big news of the day. Is there some logical reason Ben Cherington wouldn't ask for some decreased compensation for Horwitz based on his wrist surgery? Or did he injure it after the trade? Now, this is a question that we all kind of had in our mind because when we broke the story yesterday, Andrew, we just knew that Spencer Horwitz's wrist was injured.
Right.
We didn't know that there had been a potential history of wrist injuries. The Pirates told us and the rest of the world that Wednesday morning when they said that it was chronic wrist injuries was how they listed it, which means they've been, in existence. Cherington then spoke with us later that morning and explained that they knew that he had some wrist issues. However, to answer your question, Jim, yes, they did know, or the injury that led Horwitz to get surgery occurred after the trade. So they willingly traded for a player that they knew had some wrist issues. After he was acquired, after he talked to us for the first time in person at Pirate Fest, which is, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Which was 3 weeks ago. So in the last 3 weeks, during a workout, he injured a tendon above his right thumb. And they sent him to a doctor. The doctor recommended surgery. And now he's on the shelf for 6 to 8 weeks, probably going to miss, I would assume, most of the action in spring training, if not all of it.
Right.
So that answers the question. I guess, Andrew, I'll ask you, to build off of this. Obviously, you can't judge a trade this early.
Sure.
But optically, this does not look good right now.
No, it's not great. Optically, certainly not. I think the place where my mind goes to it is just what exactly were the nature of said conversations, because I understand the Pirates' intrigue with Horwitz in the first place, right? Like, he makes a lot of sense on paper, but if all details were smoothed out, if everything was, on the up and up, why was it 3 pitchers? Why was it 2 pitching prospects? Why not just Luis Ortiz straight up? Because, in fairness, I'll say this, if you are concerned about Horwitz's injury history, well, there's plenty to be concerned about with Luis Ortiz. If this is a guy who it's only one season that he's proven it, was mostly a bullpen guy, had fluctuated between AAA, was it just lightning in a bottle? If it was a player-for-player deal, I would understand that if all of this stuff is on the up and up. But what led to 2 top 30 pitching prospects being included?
And it seemed like a steep package to begin with.
Right.
And I'm not going to criticize him too much for trading for a guy who they know has some bit of an injury history because, most professional athletes,
of course, have
had some sort of an injury history. If you acquire like a guy, teams traded for Justin Verlander after he had some arm issues or, whoever else. I don't know why Verlander was the first one to pop in my mind there, but it's common throughout sports to acquire players despite injury history, but this just looks bad because I think it looks bad anyway, just because the trade they made, what they gave away seems so steep for someone who's only played 112 big league games. And then you come to find out that he's not only unproven, but he's not even completely healthy.
Right.
So, they better hope this works out, because the reason they wanted to acquire him was for his years of control. This is their first baseman, not only of the present, but of the future. And it hasn't been a great start.
Yeah. And in fairness to them, they label it as cleanup surgery. Like, maybe this is overreactionary on our part. The issue is the optics of, hey, you're breaking camp. It's the first day of spring training. That's where it becomes problematic.
Yeah. We'll move on now. Chris wants to know, will Endy Rodriguez and Billy Cook manning first? Will it be Endy Rodriguez and Billy Cook manning first base now with a little bit of Bryan Reynolds mixed in? Andrew, I'll let you start here.
Ooh, I think there's some truth to at least one of the guys in here.
Yeah.
And I think that this Spencer Horwitz development, I think it certainly increases the amount of time that Bryan Reynolds will see at first base, and potentially Billy Cook.
I think Billy Cook is probably going to get the most reps out of those.
I agree. Yeah. And I think what this more means for Billy Cook is that he's got a clear path to making the big team.
Yes.
Because beforehand, I, at least for my 26-man roster, predicting didn't have Billy Cook making the team. So I think this certainly bolsters his odds tremendously. And frankly, could be a guy who sticks based off of an early strong start, because, hey, he's a right-handed bat. He could potentially complement Spencer Horwitz decently in some form of a platoon, and he's versatile and can play the outfield. I think this is, you never, if you're a team, you never want to have injury troubles, but if you're Billy Cook, you're thinking, wow, this really bolsters my odds.
Yeah, I mean, this is how guys in Cook's situation get their opportunity, right? I mean, that's just the reality of it. When you look at this roster, they didn't have him as an everyday player. Mm-mm. And in order for him to establish himself as an everyday player, someone either had to drastically underperform or get hurt. This is the opportunity for Cook. As far as other names are concerned, I mean, Endy Rodriguez, Cherington said that they primarily view him to be a catcher. Endy even told us that last month at Pirate Fest, that he's looking at just catching right now. Reynolds, will see some at first base, but I don't know if this changes his workload a ton.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit.
I think it's just the occasional spots.
Yeah, I think that
it's like a super glue fix for a few weeks.
I entered this year thinking we'd see Reynolds play maybe 15 games at first. This might make it 20.
Yeah.
Something like that. I think the other big opportunity that comes from this is for the non-roster invites. Mm-hmm. I mean, Derek Hall is a guy that we've written about. Not a ton of major league experience, has some pop, a lot of size.
Yeah.
We saw him. He's a big guy. Or I think it also creates an opportunity for an external move. I mean, this team still has money to spend. You would think their payroll is currently lower than it was last year on opening day.
Right.
And there are first basemen out there. I mean, they're not amazing talents. Anthony Rizzo's on the board still. You could get a minor league deal probably for Jose Abreu, I would think. And obviously these aren't names that are jumping off the charts in 2025 as far as popularity, but you got to look at the situation at hand. Are you really going to make a huge addition in the spot for a guy who you 3 months ago committed to being your everyday first baseman for the foreseeable future? Or are you looking for a quick fix? And if you're looking for a quick fix, you can do it internally, or you could get one more external addition. Yeah. I think they'll probably do a combination of both.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think that's what it's going to be. I'd be pretty shocked if it ends up being a bigger name free agent. These guys are playing chicken with teams. I don't think they're playing chicken with the Pirates.
Yeah. Zach wants to know, what do you think the Pirates' record will be in Paul Skenes' starts this year? They were 15-9 in 2024. I'll start with this one. Let me see. He makes 30 starts. Mm-hmm. Is that fair? 30,
yeah, I think so.
31, 32. Say if he makes 32 starts, they go 20-12.
It's a good guess. I was going to say 19-13. Yeah. So we're right in the same ballpark.
Yeah, something around there. The caveat here is, I mean, they were 15-9 in games he started. I believe he had 13 wins, didn't he? Is that right?
Yeah.
So it's how many games are they going to win where he's not the winning pitcher? Meaning, if it's 0-0 after 7 innings and he gets pulled, can the bullpen back him up? Yeah, because I mean, I don't think it's out of the question. I think he'll win more than 15. I think he'll win close to 20. Mm-hmm. But can the Pirates win more on top of, because he's going to put them in a position to win.
Of course.
Pretty much every time he pitches. How many times are they going to squander the opportunity to win? So yeah, I think 20-12 is fair.
I think it is too, because I mean, I thought last year 15-9, that's fair.
Yeah.
Given that, okay, it's 600.
In reality, that should have been like, they probably should have lost maybe 2 games last year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like that guy was so insanely dominant last year. You have to figure maybe mild regression, if anything. But you have to also figure a slightly better bullpen, in theory, slightly better offense.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be things that average out. And when you have an elite pitcher like that, you'd expect a 600% winning percentage.
Jack wants to know who our most likely breakout candidates are for the Pirates in 2025. Andrew, you can start.
I don't know if it's a breakout as more so it is just a guy coming back into the fold and reinserting himself. Jack Suwinski is my guy. I'm really high on him, more by virtue of I'm really curious eventually in these coming days to learn from him of what his offseason looked like.
Right.
We heard rumblings of him potentially working out with some big leaguers who are more power-heavy guys who can swing for the fences, have higher strikeout rates. Last year he cut down on the strikeouts, but the average plummeted, the power plummeted. I think that as much as Tommy Pham is an interesting guy to bring in here, by the end of the season, he's going to be playing himself into a platoon 4th outfield role. Yeah. I don't think he's the everyday left fielder, and I don't think that there's anybody else really in the roster or in the farm system that screams that's the everyday left fielder the way that I think Jack Suwinski could.
I could see that. I'm going to go different. I'm going to go Kyle Nicholas.
Yeah.
I just think there's so much potential there. Obviously didn't start the year great. I thought he really hit his stride in June, July, August. He looked really good. September, I think his first year in the big leagues started to fade a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I have high expectations for him. The stuff is among the best on the team.
Agreed.
And that's including starting pitchers. I'm not saying he has better stuff than Skenes, but he's not far behind. You know, he's got nasty stuff. The velocity's there. He was a little wild, but sometimes guys with that type of stuff at his age, their rookie season, that's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot to build on there. And this bullpen has an opportunity for someone else to come up and really be a difference maker. And I think he's gonna jump after it and take it.
Yeah.
JP wants to know, do we get the sense that Cruz is going to like playing center field, and will he be any good? I think yes to both.
Yeah.
I think Oneil always thought he would be a good center fielder because O'Neill's a confident guy.
Right.
I didn't think Oneil believed he would like center field. But I think by the end of the year, he was like, this isn't so bad.
Yeah.
That was the vibe I got, at least anyway. That might be one of the more undervalued storylines of this spring because, there's so much else going on with this team that we've overlooked, that the best power hitter on the roster is playing a completely new position. And there's a lot of opportunity for it to go wrong. But if it goes right, I mean, the Pirates could have a very, very dynamic player who, could be an all-star. Right. I think he has those tools, that capability, and to be better at center field than he ever was at shortstop. I don't know if we'll see that defensively this year, but I think he will be fine in center field, and I think he will learn to like it.
Yeah, I think he'll be the least of their issues. I'll put it that way. Because he demonstrated last year he can stay healthy for a full 162, play through injury if he needs to. The guy's talent is unbelievable. His athleticism is off the charts, even after a pretty serious injury. I think he's going to be fine in center, and I think there's even a little bit of a chip on the shoulder of it, of like, hey, I wanted to be a shortstop, it didn't work out. We'll go watch me be a good center fielder.
We are now in the bonus questions. So if you're just reading, I don't know how you're watching this one, but so for the people watching on YouTube, these questions will only appear on YouTube. They will not be included in our written mailbag at post-gazette.com. Michael wants to know, going into the season, who do we see behind Joey Bart as the second catcher? We talked about this a lot Tuesday night during the live stream. I see Jason DeLay just to get Henry Davis and Endy Rodriguez consistent plate appearances to start the season. You said Endy?
I originally was big on Endy, but after watching today, the first day of spring training, I actually would switch my answer to Henry Davis.
He did look good, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He looked good in the setting, and also, as much as, feel free to not put any stock into this type of stuff. I do, just given my obsession with pitching and catching, but I think it's really important to note what the matchups, the pairings are when guys are throwing bullpens.
That's a fair observation. This guy right here, look at him.
I think it's really important to take note of that stuff because if you go down the line, it's like, okay, Dari Moreta is throwing to Jason DeLay and Endy Rodriguez.
Right.
Dari Moreta, he's in the big league plans, but probably won't start the year in the majors because coming back from Tommy John. Meanwhile, who's Paul Skenes throwing to? Joey Bart.
Right.
Who's Mitch Keller throwing to? He's throwing to Joey Bart. Like that's the stuff that to me stands out. So I look at it, Keller throwing to Henry Davis.
Yes.
So I look at it as that to me was an early tell. Again, spring training's got to play out, but I think it's going to be Henry Davis.
Man, I'm kind of mad that I didn't notice that. Good job, Andrew. Final question here for this week's mailbag comes from Bobby. Where do you see Nick Yorke fitting in? I believe he has a ton of upside. I actually think Nick Yorke has some decent upside as well. I wouldn't say a ton.
Yeah.
Because when I think a ton of upside, I think Bubba Chandler.
I would say the inverse. I think he has a pretty high floor.
I actually agree with that. That's a better assessment where I think his bad season is a lot better than a lot of people's bad season on this team.
Yeah.
I don't know where Nick Yorke fits in. I think maybe left field. Mm-hmm. If they're going to keep Reynolds and Wright, you talked about Jack. If Jack doesn't figure it out,
right,
maybe left field is the future for Nick Pham. Mm-hmm. I think Nick Yorke's the kind of guy that, he's a hit tool first guy, and he can play 5 positions. So if he hits the ball, they'll find somewhere for him to play. It could be second, it could be third, it could be short, it could be corner outfield, maybe DH. I think his playing time is going to be similar scenario to a lot of other guys who we're going to see start the year in AAA, where it's going to depend on who slumps and who gets hurt, because they have options 2-3 deep at every spot on the roster. All of them are pretty unproven, but they have depth with the same kind of baseline right now. So Nick Yorke will get an opportunity. I think left field is probably the most likely spot. What about you?
Yeah, I think so. I think left field is an interesting one because as he continues to work back from the shoulder surgery that he had back in high school and the injuries that he's had to the throwing arm, I think that with Nick Yorke that he's just continuing to build arm strength, and you don't put a guy who profiles as a second baseman in the outfield unless you think the arm talent is improving, if it's building up. So I think that, conversations he had with us here at the Post-Gazette was that over the offseason, the Pirates told him, hey, go get an outfield glove, go get some more reps in the outfield this offseason. I think that's certainly going to come to play here in the spring as we start to get these games underway.
We'll certainly find out. He's Andrew Destin. I'm Noah Hiles. Be sure to follow our coverage on all social media platforms. We got stuff on TikTok now. Obviously, this YouTube channel, if you're watching this, please like this video and hit the subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. Be sure to submit questions every week for our mailbag. You can send them to us via email, or you can submit them by commenting on our request for questions on X. Again, he's Andrew Destin. I'm Noah Hiles. We will see you next week here on the Pirates Mailbag, the Pirates YouTube channel for Pittsburgh Post-Gazette coverage.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.